You're now listening to the Fullerton Unfiltered podcast. Straightforward, no nonsense business advice. Completely unfiltered. Grow your business. Grow your life. Now, here's your host, Brian Fullerton.
Hey, what's up, guys? Well, welcome to another episode of the Fullerton Unfiltered podcast. Guys, I'm really excited about joining with you guys today on this awesome episode. We've got none other than Keith Kalfas in the house. How we doing, brother?
What's up, man?
Excited to have you here. We got none other than Paul Jamison on the other line. How we doing?
What's up?
Okay, so Paul Jamison is my go-to MC. He is the podcasting guru, Green Industry Podcast. Actually, you just wrapped up how many podcasts in 24 hours?
11?
11?
I don't know.
10 or 11. Keith, you were number 10.
That's insane.
So we saved the best for last. You know what I'm saying? We got the GOAT, Keith Kalfas, in the house. So, and you just came back from Nashville.
Yeah.
What was that all about? What were you out there hanging out doing?
We went down to a private mastermind called the BBB.
Yeah. What was that all about?
Business, bourbon, and bullshit.
There you go. All right. And then, Paul, you've been up here for 24 hours.
Having a blast with you, man. Thanks for your hospitality.
This has been just a gem having you up here. What's the most episodes you've ever done in a day for a podcast?
Probably 3 or 4, so that we blew it out of the water for sure. Blew it out of the park.
Yeah. How's your tour so far, man? Let us know how it's been going. I mean, Keith's traveling the world. You're traveling the world. I'm not traveling the world. This is great. So
yeah, it's incredible. I'm very humbled. I got to go to Maryland, Virginia, North Carolina, Ohio, and just to see behind the scenes. Like, I've been in so many people's homes. When you're hanging out at Caleb Allman's home in Brittany and you see their kids and you see their home, and I see you, and I was peeing earlier and Frank's watching me. Like, that was kind of weird. I was in the bathroom.
Yeah.
And so anyway, it's been a unique experience to meet all these people. And
it's different when you do it live.
Yeah, my heart's on fire. Just ironing, sharpening iron, and being around entrepreneurs, business owners. It's just stretching me and just exposing things in my business that could be better.
Yeah.
In my life. So I'm on fire, dude. I'm pumped up.
Well, here's what we're going to do. We're just going to hang out for a little bit. We're actually going to be going to dinner, which is really exciting, taking all the guys out. I'm going to have Keith MC this with you, and we're going to ask you questions because I want to know the story of the Green Industry Podcast. I want to know how you got started doing all this. So we're going to come back. We're going to revisit here in just a quick second after we hear from one of our show sponsors, which is Launchpreneur Academy.
New program alert. The How to Get New Lawn Care Customers training program is now available. If you guys have ever struggled at acquiring new customers or are looking to grow your lawn care business, then this new program might just be for you. Looking to learn the best tactics to develop a successful postcard marketing campaign? We got you covered. Have you ever wondered how to use social media to exponentially grow your business and dominate the competition? We got that too. Whether you're just getting started in business or you're a seasoned vet, there's something for everyone in this new program available now, exclusively at LawnpreneurAcademy.com.
Awesome. Always good having Launchpreneur Academy sponsor the show. And quite honestly, those resources are there to help you guys grow, which is just incredible, super exciting. I wish I had that stuff 10 years ago when I was getting started in business. So, Paul Jamison, the Green Industry Podcast. Tell the whole story, man. How, sometimes it just gets shuffled in the weeds when you're doing your podcast. You're like, yeah, I was inspired to do this. I was excited about doing it. But then we all did what a lot of us do. We haul off and do nothing. So where are you at?
So I was a rat in a wheel in 2018. Keith and I kind of talked this, just the oppression and just you work so hard, you come home and you're just like overwhelmed and exhausted. And so I was completely like that.
Yeah.
And my buddy Brian Ring, Stillwater, Minnesota, he's like, hey, I'm going to give you a lawnmower and a trailer for free. Just come up here and buy it and drive, or not buy it, buy a plane ticket. Come up here and then you can drive it back.
Sure.
So I was like, cool. So what happened was that gave me the opportunity to get away from the rat in the wheel that I was in.
Right.
Mm-hmm. And it gave me an opportunity just driving on the highway. I would turn everything off and I just was able to listen to the Lord. I was able to just have some peace and quiet because I was used to going 100 miles per hour every single day. So this road trip was really good for me to realize that my life was out of order. I wouldn't have realized that if I didn't get out of there. I'm in Illinois. It's like cornfields or whatever on each side of the road.
Sure.
And as I'm in Illinois, I'll just explain it how I saw it. It is what it is.
Yeah,
Brian.
dude. It's unfiltered, bro. Get it.
I saw men all across the world listening to me talk on a podcast. And some of them were in their trucks, some of them were in their shop, some of them were out on a mower. And I'm literally, it was a vision. I saw it like it was like you could get on TV and watch it. And I'm driving, but I'm looking at my the radio in the U-Haul.
Right.
And like it's like I went inside the radio and I had this. I just saw it. I don't know how to explain it.
This vision you're talking about.
Yeah. Does that make any sense?
100%.
It's like you can just close your eyes and you see it. It's like it was maybe like 15 seconds. I don't know. And I felt like, oh, and then I heard a phrase, if you build it, they will listen.
Oh, there you go. Like if you build it, they will come.
From the movie, but this was
Field of Dreams.
Yeah, I heard it in my heart. If you build it, so the vision I just saw about the podcast, there was no podcast. If you build it, they will listen. Naylor Taliaferro came to my house like the next day. And I told him about it, and he's like, "Well, I think you should build it," or whatever. He really encouraged me.
Well,
so
there's a lot of cornfields over in Illinois, so the irony, you know what I mean? Like it's all cornfield, beanfield, cornfield house.
Yeah. So I had known I got to steward this idea to start this podcast, and I know my personality is if I start something, I'll like start something, and then I don't finish the project. And I'll start something else, and I don't finish it. And I start something else, and I go back to this, and I don't get any traction. So I said,
sure,
I'm going to make a goal to make 100 episodes. And I don't care how many downloads I get. I don't care how good or bad it is.
Yeah.
I'm just going to make 100. And then once I get to 100, I'll evaluate if it was worth my time.
Absolutely.
So I made 100 episodes. By that time, I already had sponsors. They reached out to me. I didn't reach out to them.
Yep.
The show was growing. And so then literally, you'll probably be my 200th episode. I'm on episode 199 right now. So it's just
wow.
And this is our first.
Bro.
This is our first tour, sponsored by Echo. They sponsored me to drive around and interview people. So the sky's the limit, man. I'm so pumped up.
I'm so excited that companies get behind these podcasts to, guys, it takes money. I mean, if you guys are listening in, I mean, you consume it for free, but we always joke because it's not free to produce content. I mean, and we're all like lawn care guys, bro. Like we run lawn and landscape businesses. We have lawnmowers. We don't know, that it would take. I mean, every month it costs me hundreds of dollars to host my podcast. I didn't know that. And you were like, yeah, dude, like there's different subscription plans, different upload plans. I was like, oh, shoot. And he's like, yeah, you might want to get some sponsors to help pay for this thing. Because and you guys are laughing, but you know what I'm saying? Every time I upload a podcast or about every 2 or 3, it's $20-$30. And I was like, and it like, dude, it starts adding up. Oh, Mr. Famous YouTuber with all those YouTube millions. I'm like, yeah, bro, but like, come on now. Like, that's not how it works. Like, I got to pay for this stuff too. I don't want to take it out of my family's budget. So we're trying to fund the hobby. But Keith, you got a podcast as well, the Untrapped podcast.
Oh, yeah.
I feel like you kind of filled a need or a role where kind of Stanley left off. You started a podcast. Was yours around when Stanley's was, before or after? Because Stanley was a tribute to you as his mentor to getting on, I don't know about the podcast, but definitely on YouTube.
Bro, yeah, I started my podcast way back in 2014 with my cell phone and the Spreaker app. Those were some of the best episodes because I was just on fire, just pacing around, yelling
Screaming
into my phone, crying, just breaking things down from the way I saw it at the time. And I just reposted one of those recently on the Untrapped podcast that I found. And definitely, and with Stanley, he had the Landscape Business Pro podcast, and he was interviewing some pretty big names. Yeah. I think we met at the GIE, but we got on the phone. We became friends very quickly, him, Geek to Freak, and I, and we were hanging out. And on the phone with Stan, I'm like, dude, YouTube, are you going to make videos or what? He's like, I don't want to do YouTube. I don't know about all that stuff. And
wow, really?
Yeah.
He wasn't convinced? Or?
He was not interested in making videos. He didn't care. He didn't know anything about it. I was like, bro, YouTube, like you would crush it.
Really?
You got to do video.
So he was doing all the podcasting first, essentially? Like that was...
Yeah.
Was that his first content creation?
No, Stan had a whole other business, which I can't talk about here online because it's totally irrelevant.
Yeah.
Before that. And Stan's a total entrepreneur. He's amazing. And we just went to Minnesota and hung out with him. That's a different story. But yeah, dude. And he started his first video. The title of the video was, I wish I could scream this from the mountaintops.
Okay.
Because that's the way he felt about the information. And then I called him up, and I'm not taking any credit for this. Dude's got 500,000 subscribers now. Like, he's my mentor, bro.
Yeah.
But I called him up. I'm like, Stan, you might want to use some keywords. Because I was like, I understand that's how you feel, but that doesn't resonate.
Yeah.
And so then he just went.
You can't say stop being a cheap ass. You know what I mean? You got to be like 3 keys tips to making more money as a lawn care business owner. You know what I mean? Like, because it's got to be searchable type of content. Well, he had then he created what was the podcast? What was his podcast? I never got to listen to his podcast. I know you got hooked up with it, Paul.
Yeah, it was good.
What was the name of his old podcast?
Landscape Pro.
The Landscape Business Pro podcast.
Okay. And so he was doing that with the training programs back in the day. And then that's where you, Paul, you said like you lived off of that thing because you were at the studio late night. You always tell your story. You were listening to Geek to Freak, watching some YouTube videos from Top Notch, B&B. I think you said me a couple times. I was on the come up. I don't even know how you found my channel. You know, you're watching Keith late night. And then you would always listen to Stan Genetics podcast during the day when you were doing like lawn maintenance all day. So then,
he'd interview people like Mike McCalloway. I was a newbie in business, so I'm absorbing the information.
Yeah, you're a sponge.
And he's talking about the riches are in the niches, and I'm sitting here doing everything. And it was valuable information. And the thing about audio, like you remember when I literally could hear something and I'll remember where I was when I heard it.
Right.
And so I would just listen to Stan Genetic while I'm out mowing, and then I'd listen to it again and I'd remember where I was when I listened to it the first time. And so I was actually kind of mad because I noticed he had stopped making them.
Right.
As the YouTube and Instagram and everything started blowing up. And so I was kind of disappointed because
you were living off of that.
It's different now with YouTube, but back in the day, if I was like trying to listen to the audio on YouTube and I'd put it in my pocket and I'm going, I'd bump it and then
skip to the next video.
Yeah, and I'd get so mad. Whereas podcasting, I could listen to it and it wouldn't interrupt.
Right.
I think YouTube might have fixed that now, but back in the day, it was so annoying.
I think if you have like their subscription or Red
YouTube Premium, it's like $10 a month. I
have it now, but back in the day it wasn't like that. If your key hit the phone or your pocket,
bro, I still watch all that stuff and I leave my phone open in my pocket, and so I do that all the time. Like I'll come back and I'll be on some like random cat video, like all of a sudden it'd be like, it'd be Keith Kalfas video, and he's like, today we're gonna hack down this like Yosemite tree. I don't even know, bro. You know what I'm saying? I'm watching old school Keith Kalfas videos, and then next thing I know, it's like, come here, Baxter, come here, and I'm like, clearly the video changed, you know what I mean? So like it's like somebody playing with their cat, and I'm like, how did this even happen?
It was Jonathan Potashnik, the lawn care millionaire. I binge watch him on YouTube because it was really knowledgeable.
You went through a lawn care millionaire binge
I'd
too?
binge. That
bro.
dude.
He was big when I got started. I mean, he's still got a great YouTube channel now and obviously super successful traditional business. But yeah, he was like probably putting out the most. Him and do you remember G Packard?
Oh yeah, bro.
What's his first name? You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah,
I gotta get him on the show, bro. That guy he's an animal. He just shoots it straight. Like he's like, well, if you do this, you're an effing idiot. If you do this, you're an idiot.
That's what I like about him.
He was so I got like Jonathan on the one end of the spectrum. I got G Packard on the other. He goes, man, all these people putting out content, they don't know what the hell they're talking about. He was just raw. He's like, I got family lawn and landscape. He had like Minnesota and Florida. So he would just cut it straight, and I was like, and I thought he was awesome, and he's still a good dude. I don't know, like, does he still put out videos? G Packard? I don't know. Somebody's got to catch up with that guy. But like, dude, because I think his fingerprints are on a lot of like YouTubers like me. When I got started, it was B&B, Top Notch, and G Packard. And then Lawn Care Millionaire was putting out the most like, what would you call it? Like technical, like X's and O's. You know what I mean? But I never got promoted Stan's podcast. I never even knew it existed. And I'm like, dang. So like by the time I even came on the scene to make content, Stan was already all in on YouTube. You know what I mean? So then you notice this void for your podcast. So take it away from here. So you noticed that there was this void for the last couple of years. Nobody was putting out any content, and you realized, we're on mowers 8 hours a day.
Here's the thing that where I stepped in. I work at a radio station. Keith's actually been there. He's actually seen.
It's amazing.
The studio. So my biggest pet peeve is, as I would listen to podcasts, the audio quality. It's my biggest. It gets on my last nerve.
Yeah.
If I'm listening to a podcast and it's all staticky and you can barely hear. I mean, I don't care if it's the two best, most dynamic business.
Intelligent conversation ever.
If there's static and it's not good audio quality, I'm not going to listen to it. I don't care how good it could be.
Right.
So where I stepped it up, I said, I'm going to make the most quality podcast.
Yeah.
Like not just the content, but the actual audio performance. And obviously, folks like the Roadcaster and all this amazing equipment makes it easy.
Yeah.
But that's where I was like, all right, I'm going to make something that people can actually take pride in listening to, whether they're in their truck or wherever they're listening to, that the actual audio, production of it is excellent. And you guys both know my producer, but I have
Marty.
Yeah, Marty. I have a professional producer, and he does an amazing job with all the back end work.
Ratings and Each week, we take a minute to highlight your guys' reviews of the show.
Hey, what's up, guys? Hey, it is that time again to read some of the ratings and reviews that came in this week, which is always exciting. I love hearing the feedback about how we're doing with the show. And by the way, if you guys want to hear your voice and your name shouted out on the show and for us to read your review, we definitely want to take time to do that. You guys take time to write these down, and they really help the podcast get surfaced, add some social proofing, and just let other guys know how we're doing if they stumble upon the podcast in search or, just in general when they're trying to check it out for the first time. This one comes from Jared's Lawn Maintenance. Brian, today's podcast was the best yet. Keep it up. Great work. I'm not sure when that one came out. Might have been like in the 70s for episodes. We have another one from JO501. Try to leave your guys' name. That way I can shout you guys out. It says, I love listening to all of Brian's podcasts. Always full of fun, great information, and to apply to your business and daily life. Well, that is good to know. We have another one from Ham's Lawns. So it says, wow, Brian's episode 74 is on point. Started my business at the beginning of June and struggled with knowing my worth. Listened to Keith Kalfas' recording from Launchpreneur Academy and he immediately ordered Profit First. I was slowly grasping what I was worth and applying it to business. I was scared to charge what I'm worth, and he goes on from there. Really, really good stuff. Hey, you got to know your worth, and hopefully this podcast is helping you guys become more emboldened, maybe is the word. So that's always good stuff. Another one, Hooning Enthusiast. Like Hoonigan, I don't know what Hooning is, but maybe that's a car guy. I don't know. Is that the guy with the Hoonigan? You guys know what I'm talking about. Favorite podcast. This is by far my most favorite podcast to listen to. Lots of gold nuggets that have helped me grow my business and to become more successful. Thanks for putting the time into these, Brian. Hey, you bet, brother. These do take a lot of time. If you guys knew, every podcast takes about 2 to 2.5 hours because I catch up with the guests for about 15 minutes before, set them at ease. We talk for an hour, hour and a half. We catch up for about 10, 15 minutes after, a little debrief. And then it does take about a half hour to 45 minutes to tag, title, and then write the description, load it up to our web hosting. So each podcast takes about 2 to 4 hours to put together. So when you guys say, thanks for taking the time to put these together, absolutely, you betcha. Thank you for leaving the ratings and reviews to let us know how we're doing. Last one we'll read here. Nathan S106, he says, Brian, I freaking love this podcast so much. I cannot wait until Launchpreneur Live event tickets go on sale so I can go better my business, my mind, and my drive. I listen to these while I'm working every day, and it's kind of a bummer that I wish the podcast had hundreds of episodes so I can listen to more. Hey, we're working on it, brother. Again, I'm a one-man band, you know what I mean? So we can only put out 3 to 4 episodes a week, which is already challenging enough. But you know what? With these kind of reviews and ratings that come on in, it keeps me motivated, it keeps me smiling as I do these, which makes me happy knowing how much these are helping you guys out. So, hey guys, if you haven't left a rating or review just yet, please do so. It really, really helps the podcast. It really helps me. If the show is adding value to your life in any capacity, whether it just makes you laugh or you get one nugget out of this, hey, do me a solid favor. We're partnering up together, and I need you guys on your end to reciprocate with leaving some ratings and reviews. It really, really does help the podcast get surfaced and get this to another audience, a larger audience. And by the way, keep sharing it to your friends and your lawn bros. Let them know what's going on and see if these podcasts can add value to those guys' life. The podcast grows organically with a lot of you guys sharing it. So again, super thankful for your guys' partnership, your guys' friendship, and helping us grow the show.
Want us to read your review next? Let us know how we're doing, and we might just read your review on next week's show.
I was listening to your episode last week when you were just ribbing and rabbing, with Marty. And he was like, you said, yeah, I think Marty still got a fanny pack. And then if you listen all the way to the end of the episode, Marty's like, Martha, what's wrong with fanny packs? Like you guys have this great play, like pitch and catching, on the show. I will agree. I think you have one of the best podcasts that's out. I mean, the guests, the valuable of the content, the people that you're interviewing, it's great. It's amazing. And I'll be honest, I was listening to yours for over almost a year probably, right? You're saying? Mm-hmm. I was listening to it for a year, and I was already getting convinced of doing podcasting. Keith had a podcast. I think I was on one of episodes of Keith's. I came over to his house, and then we did the one at the hotel. Just randomly, you were talking about route density, and you cut the audio from the video, and then you put it on your podcast.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, dude, you can do that. And Keith made it. The one thing that Keith always does is first off, he makes it look easy when it's really complicated. But then the second thing he does is that he teaches you how to make it really simple. Keith is really good at that. So he breaks it down. I'm like, that's all it is. He goes, bro, that's all it is. I go, well, I want to do this. I don't know if you guys are ever listening in. I want to make YouTube videos. I want to make podcasts. It's a lot of work when you watch these guys like Paul and Keith make content. They make it look so easy. And that was always my attitude. I'm always on the guy, the outside looking in. And then when I go to do the content, I was like, oh, this takes a lot more effort than I ever imagined. YouTube was like that, but I did not. What am I trying to say? I underestimated podcasting for darn sure. And so when I'm learning from you, I was like, Paul, teach me how to do this, because I was that guy consuming your podcast for as many episodes you were putting out. I was listening to as many as Keith is on the Untrapped podcast. I was listening to this stuff every single day that I could, because I was on the mower 6, 7, 8 hours a day trying to get better, you know? And so Keith, you want to weigh in on this with podcasting? What's it do for you? What's it been for you?
I love it. I love where we're at with technology, where you can get your hands on studio equipment for a few $100s. If you have a message that you want to share with the world, that's within your control to do that. And you can build a platform. I learned about this way back in the day. Michael Hyatt has a book called Platform. Getting Noticed in a Noisy World. If you've got something that's on your heart, there's only one you, and only you are so incredibly unique. And I believe if you feel that calling, you got to be obedient and step up and find a way to at least get it out there, because you don't know whose lives you're going to touch. We go to these live events, and you know, when you have somebody come up to you with tears in their eyes saying that a podcast you put out changed their life, that is like, whoa.
It's powerful
I don't
stuff.
take any credit for that stuff. Like, and I was thinking about you, Paul, the green industry podcast. The green industry is huge. We're talking about horticulture and arboriculture and botany and landscape yard design and everything green industry encompassing and related with and without, you know, not only the United States, worldwide, right? But like, you said you had a vision at the beginning of this. Mm-hmm. I had a vision while you were talking, and it's for you right now. You are freaking amazing, dude. You have this anointing on you that is so strong and so powerful that sets you apart than Brian and I and all this stuff. Like, you were built for this. Like, we take our podcast very seriously, but you are going to just catapult. I mean, it's already happening right now in real time, but my message was my vision. You actually don't know who's really listening to you. There are people that are listening to you and they know about you that are of a caliber of people that you would only dream of getting in front of. And they're already listening to you right now. And when you realize that on that level, you go, whoa, I'm being listened to by the top people in the industry. People that a simple phone call could, you know, write you a $40,000 check and fly you to their building to do a podcast with them because they have a message that could get out that could literally. My boy Daniel Mirval, he's a certified arborist from Illinois. He sits on the board of the Society of Arboriculture, and he has this thing. He calls it being a proactive steward of the urban environment. Think about that. So you're literally already merging into a white-collar green industry professional with roots in blue-collar, in the trenches work. So your level of relatability spans so far and so wide, it's actually beyond your comprehension right now, because your relatability is in the roots, right, of grassroots, but you're transcending into white-collar, which, you know what I mean? It's like you're going to go full, dude, it's incredible. So when you realize that, the tone in your voice changes a little bit. You're like, oh my God, I really am the number one dude in this. That's when all these doors will start opening. You're going to be getting phone calls and emails within the next 6 months. You're going to be like in your hotel room, like crying and praying and shaking. I can't believe this is happening. Your dreams are already right around the corner, bro.
Dude, I got to say this, like, to echo what Keith said, dude, I'm super impressed with everything you're doing. Like, for real. We actually got to shut this podcast down, though, because our dinner reservations already.
That's cool.
But, dude, I'll tell you straight up. Green Industry Podcast, you're top 100. You're already top 60. You're going to top 50. You'll be top 25 by this same time next year. And what you're doing inspired me. So anything that people give me credit for, I just pass the light to you, bro. Like, you are setting people free. What you're doing, you've been obedient. I hope you feel really excited, not prideful, but proud. I hope you feel really proud of what you're doing, because all these guys that you're helping grow and inspire, it's because of you, because you know what you did. You answered the call. And what if you didn't start your podcast? I wouldn't have started mine. I wouldn't have been able to use you as a resource. I mean, for real. Like, Keith made it look so easy, but I was like, I know there's so much work. And then with your help and your coaching and training, like, no lie, dude. Like, this has been just such a blessing. What do they say, like, Keith, like a dream come true? Like, it's one thing to, like, be the man and, like, be the content creator. Like, I get it. But for me, like, now I'm like, yo, how can I help you? And you were like, hey, I want to do this episode up here and this, like, with you and Weingarts. I said, why don't I just open up my house? Bring everybody in. Let's do a home base. Let's bang out 10 episodes. Let's make it worth it for you. And I'm not the hero, but I'm like, yo, I want to bless people because it was just a lot harder for me getting started on social media than what people thought. And I'm like, if I can pay it forward and help the next guy out and just silver platter, give Paul as much as he can because he's worth it.
Paul.
You know what I'm saying? Like, we get behind you, bro. So keep doing what you're doing. We got to bounce.
I just had one last vision.
Yeah.
I just saw like GIE Expo 2021. I saw a massive live event.
Yeah.
And I saw a DJ booth on an elevated platform with tables and like props and sets and lights. And there was people everywhere, but you were up in the upper level where people can't get to unless you're VIP. And you were literally like pro radio announcer interviewing heavy hitters, and people are like, that's Paul Jamison.
Yeah, just remember us when you're famous, bro. No, I'm just kidding. But hey, Paul Jamison, Green Industry Podcast. Paul, where can they find you?
Paul Jamison on Instagram, Green Industry Podcast. It's on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, and Stitcher.
Awesome. All right, Keith Kalfas, Untrapped Podcast. Keith Kalfas on YouTube. Keith Kalfas, you guys know Keith Kalfas. We got to get out of here. If not, we're going to miss our reservations.
Let's go get some steak.
Guys, thanks so much for listening to this episode. Go follow Paul. Go follow Keith. Thanks so much for listening, guys. That's it for today's show. We'll catch up with you guys on the next one.
Later.
Thanks for taking the time to listen to the Fullerton Unfiltered podcast with Brian Fullerton. We hope you enjoyed this production. If so, please consider leaving us a 5-star review for the show. While the techniques and ideas presented here are designed to help you grow a more successful and profitable business, no one can guarantee these results for you. We want to emphasize that entrepreneurship is not easy, and the ideas presented here are just the opinions of Brian Fullerton and his respective guests. No one can guarantee success for you. That being said, we hope the ideas presented here help you and motivate you to go on out there and crush it with your own business.
Fullerton Unfiltered Podcast.
Thanks for listening, and we hope to see you on the next episode.